3 true scary stories for sleeping. Story 1. I've always loved road trips at night. The hum of the tires on blacktop. The way the world narrows to your headlights and whatever they catch at the edge of the trees. It feels like you're moving through nothing. Just you, your friends half asleep in the back, and the line on the map that promises you'll be somewhere better by dawn. But I don't take back roads anymore. Not after what we saw on Route 17. We were 3 hours into a weekend run to the cabin. Me driving, Jess riding shotgun with her feet on the dash, Mason and Drew in the back, both passed out with hoodies over their faces. We'd left late. Traffic, last minute packing, the usual. By midnight, we'd hit the part of upstate New York where the GPS always says no service, but you're still just cocky enough to keep going. It had rained all afternoon, but around 1 a.m. it turned steady. The kind of rain that turned the road into a black river. The wipers made this dull thump, thump that started to blend into the droning music. Jess was half awake, humming along to something on my playlist when she saw it. Eyes. I glanced at her. She was squinting at the shoulder. What? Eyes, left side. I eased off the gas. The shoulder dropped off fast. Just a shallow ditch full of wet leaves, then dense pines. I didn't see anything. But then the brights caught something reflective. 2 yellow glints between the trees, low to the ground, then gone when I blinked. Probably a deer, Mason grumbled from the back, voice muffled. How much longer? An hour, maybe less. He rolled over, muttered something about bears, and drifted off again. I kept my eyes on the rearview mirror for a while, but the road behind was just an endless tunnel of rain. 5 miles later, Jess jolted up. There. I saw it this time. Something darted from one side of the road to the other. Big. Fast. Too fast for a bear. 4 legs. Low belly. It was gone before my brain finished the shape. I eased off the gas again. You saw that, right? She asked. Yeah. She pulled her knees off the dash. What the hell runs like that? Maybe a coyote. Coyotes don't have shoulders that big. Up ahead, the GPS flickered and died. I tapped the screen. Nothing. No service bars. Just the rain. I could feel the tension now. The car felt too small. Too quiet. Mason and Drew snored on, oblivious. Then we hit something. Not big. Just a thud under the front tires. I swerved. Tires hissed on wet pavement. Jess grabbed the dash. Jesus, what was that? I coasted to a stop. The road was so narrow, The shoulder was half mud. I don't know. A log? Maybe? Raccoon? I killed the engine but left the headlights on. High beams cutting through the sheets of rain. Nothing. Jess was glued to the windshield. Don't get out. I'm not. Then we heard it. A thump. Metal on metal. From the roof. Something landed on the damn roof. Mason shot awake. Slammed his knee into the seat in front of him. What the? Another thump. Right above my head. Then claws. No mistaking it. The slow, deliberate scrape of claws dragging across the metal skin of the car. Jess clapped her hand over her mouth. Drive, Mason croaked. Dude, just go. But I sat there, frozen. Then it moved. The weight shifted. I swear I felt it. Something heavy crawling. Knees and elbows or paws. Shifting its belly across the thin roof. Another scrape. This one longer. Right over the back seat. Drew sat up. Why are we stopped? The scraping stopped. We all held our breath. Then something slammed the back window. Just once. A wet thud, like a fist wrapped in fur. The rain outside blurred the glass. But for a split second I saw it. A shape. No fur. Skin like old leather stretched thin. Shoulders hunched up too high. A head that split at the jaw. Teeth like broken branches. And eyes, yellow, gleaming like headlights swallowed whole. Mason screamed. The thing vanished into the woods. I jammed the gear into drive and floored it. The tires fishtailed, kicked up mud, caught traction just before we slid into the ditch. Nobody spoke for the next 10 miles. The rain chased us. The wipers squeaked. The hum of tires buzzed in my teeth. At the first gas station, a flickering shell off the main highway. I pulled under the awning and sat there, engine idling. Jess got out first. I could see her hand shaking as she circled the car. There they were, long scratches down the length of the roof. 5 lines, like someone dragged a garden rake from windshield to trunk. On the rear window, a single muddy handprint. But it wasn't a hand. The fingers were too long, the palm too narrow, more like claws pressed flat. Inside the gas station, the cashier was half asleep behind thick glass. Mason asked him, "You ever see anything out on 17? The guy just blinked at him. "You mean the deer?" Mason shook his head. "Not deer. Something bigger." The guy looked out at our car. He leaned closer to the glass, his eyes dipping to the claw marks on the roof. Then he chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "You keep going that way?" "Yeah, why?" He shrugged. "Next time, Don't stop. Back on the road, the GPS came back to life once we hit the state route. No more claws, no more shapes, just rain and the hum of tires carrying us away from something that should have stayed in the dark. I still take road trips, just not back roads, not after dark, not through forests big enough to hide something that can run alongside your car and tap your window without leaving tracks. Because if you ever see those yellow eyes at the edge of your headlights, don't stop. Don't open the door. Don't even slow down. Some things hunt best when you think you're safe behind the glass. Story 2. Some roads never feel empty, even if you're the only headlights cutting through the rain at 2 in the morning. They say every mile of blacktop has ghosts if you drive it long enough. I believe that now, because I've seen her. I was 19, running from a fight with my old man that didn't need to be that big. I stuffed the duffel in the trunk, grabbed the map, and pointed my wheels north. Just far enough that my phone bars dropped to 0 and the FM radio turned to static. It rained the whole way, a soft, steady drizzle that beaded up on the windshield like pearls. By the time I hit Route 11, I'd been driving almost 6 hours, drifting in and out of that half-sleep highway trance you get when the wipers set the tempo for your heartbeat. That's when I saw her. She was standing just past a bend where the guardrail gave up and the ditch turned into a black swamp of cattails. One hand raised, one palm out. No thumb sticking out like a hitchhiker. Just that open hand. She was barefoot, hair stuck to her cheeks in the rain. Dressed so white, I thought I'd hallucinated it, glowing in the high beams for a split second before I jerked the wheel. I don't know why I stopped. The brakes screamed in the rain. The rear end fishtailed before I got control. I sat there, engine idling, wipers fighting a losing battle. Then I looked in the rear view. She was closer. Not up on the road, but standing in the grass just behind the taillights. 1 foot in the ditch. She wasn't waving, not yelling, just looking. I cracked the window 2 inches. Hey, you okay? She didn't answer. Didn't even flinch when thunder rolled over us. I should have driven off right then, but I popped the door instead. Rain slapped my shoulder, cold enough to punch me fully awake. I kept one hand on the frame. I didn't like how the ditch swallowed her ankles, or how her dress stayed white when everything else looked the color of old mud. You need a ride? No answer, but her head tilted, like a dog trying to hear a whistle. I stepped closer. The smell hit me first. Not rot, not like roadkill, just wet dirt, cold pond water. She lifted her hand, pointed at the passenger door. Okay, I said. Okay. I unlocked it, jogged back to the driver's side, slid in dripping. She never opened the door. She was just there. Passenger seat. belt undone, dress leaving a puddle on the cracked vinyl. I kept my eyes on the road as I put the car back in drive. No words, no music. The only sound was rain on glass and her shallow breathing beside me. "Where you headed?" I asked. No answer. She just looked out the windshield, eyes too big for her face, pupils so dark I couldn't see if they moved. A mile passed, then two. The road got narrower, pines leaning in overhead like they were eavesdropping. Finally, her lips moved, soft, flat. "Don't stop again." That was it. No name, no please, no thank you. Just those 4 words. I nodded like I understood, but I didn't. 5 minutes later, I risked a glance. Empty seat. No puddle. No wet footprints on the floor mat. Just the hiss of the wipers and the tick of my blinker when I pulled off the next gas station. The cashier barely looked up. I grabbed the coffee, hands trembling, rain dripping off my sleeves. Before I could say anything, he said, "You pick her up?" I froze. "Who?" He flicked his eyes at the window, at my car under the buzzing floodlight. "The girl, white dress, stands by mile marker 72. I swallowed. "Yeah." He grunted. "Don't stop again." I sat in that parking lot until the cup went cold in my hands. No wet spot on the seat. No smell except for stale coffee and my own sweat. When I pulled back onto Route 11, I drove straight through to the border. Didn't stop for gas, didn't piss, didn't blink. I still take road trips alone, but every time the rain turns the road into a river, I see that bend in my headlights. The guardrail half sunk in weeds. The ditch black as an open grave. I grip the wheel tighter. I don't check the mirror, and I never, ever stop. Because if she ever climbs in again, I'm not sure she'll leave. Story 3. When I was 20, I thought the old Lover's Lane stories were just that. Stories. Teenagers necking in cars. A radio crackling about an escaped lunatic with the hook for a hand. And the punchline? Scratch marks on the door when you finally drive away. I used to laugh about it, but not anymore. It was early fall, the kind where the rain doesn't so much pour as it drifts sideways in misty sheets that coat your window like a sweaty palm. Me, my girl Hannah, and my best friend Marcus had been driving for hours. No real plan, just a late night run to nowhere in his beat up Civic. The roads out near the old state park were empty. No headlights behind us, no gas stations open, just that hiss of tires on wet blacktop, and the glow of the dash clock crawling toward 2 a.m. We were supposed to stay at a cheap roadside motel, but Marcus got it in his head to pull off and have a smoke at a spot he called Devil's Rest. This old dirt turnout near the trees. Local kids used it as a makeout spot back in the day. Nobody patrolled it anymore, too deep in the woods. I remember saying, "Dude, let's just get to the motel. It's gonna pour." He grinned, flicked the wheel off the road, and the tires crunched on the gravel. Hannah shifted beside me. She never liked these places, the kind that feel like the trees are leaning in, eavesdropping. Marcus killed the engine, left the keys dangling. "I'll just be a minute," he said, popping the door. The dome light flickered out when he slammed it, and we sat there, just me and Hannah, windshield fogging while the wipers ticked slow. "Creepy out here," she murmured. I tried to joke it off, told her about the old Hook legend. A couple alone in the woods. A news bulletin about an escaped killer with a hook for a hand, scratching the car to lure you out. She didn't laugh. She just hugged her jacket tighter. I checked my phone. No bars. No GPS. The world outside was just black trees and drizzling rain. The trunk of the Civic reflecting the taillights like two bleeding eyes. Marcus's lighter flared by the tree line. A tiny spark in the gloom. Then it went out. I cracked my window an inch. "Marcus, hurry it up. Storm's rolling in." No answer. Just the tick of rain on the roof. I remember the smell next. This wet, sour smell, like rotting leaves, and something coppery. I glanced at Hannah. She was staring at the side window, breath fogging up the glass. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. I listened. At first, just the rain. Then, it came from the rear quarter panel. Soft, deliberate, like metal against metal. I killed the overhead light, peered through the foggy rear glass. Nothing. Just a mess of shadows and pine trunks. "Probably a branch," I muttered. Hannah shook her head. "That's not a branch." Another scrape. Louder this time. Longer. I flinched when it dragged all the way down to the bumper. Hannah pressed her hand to the lock button, eyes huge. "Call Marcus," she hissed. I held up my phone. Zero signal. I rolled the window down another inch. "Marcus, knock it off." No answer. Just the hiss of the forest breathing rain. Then, tap, tap, tap. This time on the rear windshield, behind Hannah's head. She jumped, spun around, palms flat on the glass. The shape was just there, hunched, pressed so close its outline warped in the fog. I swear to God, it was a man, but wrong. Head lolling sideways like it was too heavy for his neck. One arm bent backward, ending in a black hook that scraped lazy circles on the glass. When the lightning flickered, I saw his eyes, milky white, like boiled eggs floating in swamp water. Hannah screamed. I jammed the key in the ignition. The Civic coughed, caught, headlights swinging wide into the trees. No Marcus. No lighter spark. Just the shape, ducking low, claws, or the hook, dragging along the trunk as we lurched forward. I fishtailed back onto the state road, tires spitting gravel. Hannah sobbed beside me, eyes locked on the side mirror. I couldn't look. I needed to keep us on the blacktop. We didn't stop for miles. Not until we hit the motel lot. Some ratty neon sign flickering vacancy in pink and blue. I stepped out, legs like water. Under the sodium lights, we saw it. Deep gouges running the length of the driver's side door. Long, ragged arcs that dug all the way to bare metal. At the rear, a single dent. A hook-shaped dent. Marcus never called, never showed. When the sheriff finally walked that turnout the next morning, they found his lighter in the mud, half a boot print in the leaves, and drag marks that vanished into the pines. No hook, no coat, no body. They told me it was an animal, a bear, a mountain lion. But a mountain lion doesn't tap politely on your window. A bear doesn't run a cold hook down your car door like it wants to be let in. I don't drive back roads anymore. When the rain comes down and the wipers blur the night into a tunnel, I keep my eyes ahead, hands tight on the wheel. Because sometimes the scratches don't show up right away. Sometimes they appear when you stop for gas, or when you wash your car weeks later. A claw mark, a dent, a memory that something was there in the dark, trailing you all the way home. So if you ever pull off down an old lover's lane, engine off, windows fogged, and you hear that scratch, don't open the door, don't roll down the window, and don't look back. Some legends never die, and some keep scratching.